Yo, what's good, you guys, here, and welcome back to another video. In the last Pokemon challenge, we tried beating Pokemon Black with the Superior line, which was a fun challenge, so you should definitely check that out if you haven't already. But in today's video, we're going to be trying to beat Pokemon Yellow with only Buterfree. Now in Gen 1, the representation of stats is pretty lacking, so I'm going to jump ahead to our moveset. Now through level up, Buterfree doesn't actually learn that many moves. This is made up for by the amount of stat moves you can learn though, such as Poison Powder, Stun Spore, and Sleep Powder. As for attacking moves, Buterfree will be relying heavily on Confusion at level 12, and then later on swap out with Side Beam at level 32. As for TM moves, Buterfree can learn some pretty helpful moves such as Hyper Beam, Mega Drain, Solar Beam, and Psychic, and Rest. But being honest though, I think the main strategy would just be putting Pokemon to sleep and then attacking with some other move. Getting to the challenge rules though, we can only use Buterfree in battle, however we can use other Pokemon for HM moves. Number 2, we can use any items in battle, however held items and items outside of battle are allowed. And lastly, number 3, we can't use any glitches or hacks, but I will be using speed up to beat the game faster. I played the game at 4x speed with a live timer to see how long this challenge would take me in real time, as well as using the in-game timer to see how long this challenge would have really taken without speed up. But now that the challenge rules are out of the way, let's go ahead and start this run. So we start the run off by replacing Bulbasaur with Buterfree so that we can do the whole run with it. Now being that we started the run with Buterfree, we have our first move being Confusion, which is actually pretty helpful because it helps us take out the Eevee pretty easily. I then quickly run into Viridian Force and fight the first trainer we see to test to see where we stand being at level 6, going against higher opponents. Buterfree actually handles the situation pretty well as it only takes little damage per hit by tackle while doing around 1/3 of health to each of the Caterpie per hit per round. After this fight, I fight the rest of the trainers in Viridian Force and then head over to Brock. Now, I fought the first trainer in this gym to see how we would do against Brock, and we managed to land a critical hit Confusion which brought Diglett into the yellow. However, he did not like that and hit us 2 times with both landed as critical hits. Now I brought the Little Rock down after this, but we're left in the yellow for Sandshrew. Now luckily it didn't do all that much damage per hit, and we were able to take it out with a few confusions while being left at 4 HP, and to be honest that's probably not good. But I guess that means we're finally ready for Brock. So I started by attacking the Geodude and I managed to confuse it, so I was able to avoid getting hit by a tackle for a turn. On the next turn, I did get hit, but it's very low damage and we were able to finish off the Geodude. Onix is last, and just like with the Geodude, it doesn't do all that much damage with tackle, and we take it out in 3 hits with Confusion, winning us our first gym badge. Since we're playing Pokemon Yellow, we have battles against a new set of people, Team Rocket. Now, against was an easy sweep with just a few confusions. The problem though was Meowth, because not only was I not at full health before the battle started, but Meowth was also able to outspeed us and hit us with Scratch first each time. It then used Bite, which caused us to flinch and lose a turn, and then once we get Meowth in the one-shotting range, it finished us off with a Scratch. After that embarrassing loss, I tried again, and this time I remember to heal before the fight. Just like before, I get past the Ekans pretty easily, and then Meowth comes out, and surprisingly, it only attacked us once with Scratch, with the other turns going to yelling in our face, which did absolutely nothing to us. Lastly, it was Coughing, who poisoned us with its bad breath, so we had to take it out pretty quickly, with a few confusions. Once we were in Cerulean City, we fought with our rival once more. Now I did put his bird to sleep so that it can't do some magical super effective damage to us, however it wakes up immediately after putting it to sleep. Ugly though, it doesn't attack us and we just use Leer to lower our defenses. It's good we didn't take any damage, but having lower defense in this fight could be costly. Next is Sandshrew, who kicked sand in my eyes for the first round, but luckily our Butterfly pulled through and confused it to death. Buterfree managed to make the rat confused, but we missed hitting our final confusion needed, and then the rat proceeded to do heavy damage with Hyper Fang due to our low defenses, and then it followed up with a quick attack. Thankfully though, we were able to take it out before it could quick attack us once more, but we're left at a low of 14 HP. Lastly is Eevee, and I could have put it to sleep because I was worried about what it might do, and I did not want to lose this fight. However, due to Sandshrew kicking sand in my eyes, Buterfree keeps missing at everything, so it takes a little longer than expected. But eventually, we get the Eevee down super low, but we missed our last needed attack as it woke up, but luckily it took itself out with its own confusion, winning us the fight. Now I'm sure we would have won that anyway, but it's still kind of funny to think that it finished itself off. Wait a minute, pause. Anyway, not long after we have our next gym against the Misty. Now I'd take her Staryu out with no problem with just a few confusions, while taking minimal damage from tackle. Now Starmie was a little different, okay, so my only attacking move is Confusion, which isn't super effective against it. So I had to spend quite a few rounds of constant attacking for the damage to take notice. So to be able to keep up with this, I had to put Starmie to sleep so it couldn't attack, and it did wake up once, but I put it right back to sleep, and after a few more rounds of constant confusion, the rock hard Starfish finally goes down. On the SSN, we fought with our rival once more, and just like before, I put his little bird to sleep before proceeding to confuse it into submission. Now from there, his team was an easy sweep as I just spammed confusion while taking minimal damage from each of his Pokemon, until eventually I got to his Eevee, which kicked sand in my eyes a little bit, so we did miss a few times, but we eventually landed our hits and took it out. Now later Surge was the next gym leader we had to face, and to be honest, he was actually pretty easily. In Pokemon Yellow, he only has a Raichu, so we put it to sleep and then started hammering away at its health little by little with confusion until it got pretty low, and I noticed that I only had 2 PP left for confusion. Now since this was my only attacking move, if I ran out of PP, this was it. I would have to wait for the struggler to take over, which by the way would take forever. Now luckily Buterfree had a move that could poison the Raichu, so I just waited until it woke up to poison it, and funny enough, it takes some confusion damage, so one more hit from confusion from Buterfree was able to take it out. We have another fight with our rival, and the start of this fight is a little annoying because his dumb bird keeps waking up after I put it to sleep. It also uses mirror move or something like that, so I take damage from my own confusion and get confused. Luckily Buterfree was able to push through all of this and take the Vulture out with a few more confusions. Magnemite was next, and despite how it looks, it only hit us for a little damage with tackle, and it went down to a few confusions. As for the rest of our rivals Pokemon, they went down pretty easily from a few hits, but after getting sand in our eyes, we can't hit our shots for shit. Like, Eevee comes out and we put it to sleep, but Butterfly somehow manages to miss 4 times in a row before finally landing a hit and taking the Eevee out. Now, I think the main problem with this strategy is the fact that not only do some Pokemon wake up super fast, but if my accuracy is dropped even by 1 stage, we're like a blind kid trying to write an essay, alright? It's just not gonna work. At the top of the tower, we run into Team Rocket again, but they were no trouble at all. Buterfree was literally able to take down all 3 of their Pokemon in 2 hits due to the super effectiveness of Psychic types on Poison types. Alright, 4th gym time. Okay, so this first attempt was not fair, okay? Like, this dumb pile of thorns just kept spamming Constrict and Bind, so literally I couldn't do anything but take damage for many rounds. Finally, I was able to break this curse and take it out, but we were left in the yellow. Weavile comes out next, and it was able to outspeed us, so after 2 rounds go by, we give in to the super effectiveness of the acid. The second attempt I make sure to put Tango to sleep so it can't pull the dumb shit again, and after a few rounds of confusing it, we take it out. Now we actually do really good damage to the Weavile, but it crits us with acid and brings us super low, and then I put it to sleep so it couldn't do that again, but it wakes up immediately and then my sleep pattern no longer affects it, like what? So on the 3rd attempt, I learned that Psybeam actually does a little bit more damage to confusion, so it does finish off the Tango quicker. We also landed a lucky critical hit and one-shot the Weepinbell. Gloom is last, and its acid doesn't do all that much to me, so we just attack with Psybeam twice until it goes down. In the Team Rocket hideout, we fight with our rival once again, and let me tell you, this rival fight was so ass. Like, there's so many things that just made me fail. So starting off in general, the Sandslap goes down pretty easily with a few Psybeams, however Cloyster elects to hit for major damage with super effective Psybeams. Then there are times once I get to Magnemite that sleep pattern doesn't affect it, like bro, what's up with that? Then there are times that it also paralyzes me, which causes us to be slower and then lose because electric types moves are super effective against Buterfree. There are also times that Sandslash poisons us, which is basically a loss since over time the poison just does too much damage, so we would just lose. Now these problems were bad, but they were nothing compared to the next roadblock that I faced, Kadabra. So now this thing outspeeds us and it can use Recover, which is terrible for us because that means it has to be asleep so it doesn't heal back up. But you know what makes this worse? The fact that my only attacking move is Confusion and Psybeam, which by the way are both Psychic type moves, so they do just little damage. But finally though, after attempt after attempt, I was finally able to get the perfect run where I was able to keep the Kadabra asleep and whittle away at its health over and over again until it went down. Lastly was Flareon, which I tried to put to sleep but it missed, and we get brought even lower with an Ember. At this point I'm a 1-tap, so I know that I need to keep this thing asleep and then attack, which is what I do. Now it does wake up a few times, but luckily our accuracy was there and we were able to hang in there and eventually finally take this thing out and finally beat a rival in this one fight. Immediately after this we fought with Team Rocket once more, but they were no trouble at all. We also fought Giovanni once more, but Buterfree just put each of them to sleep before confusing them to death and taking them out. I fight Koga next, and you might be thinking that since he has poison types, this fight would be super easy. And you are right to an extent, but the problem comes in against the final Venomoth because it takes multiple hits to bring down. Now I put it to sleep so it can't spam double team, which would make it invincible. But I still kept losing because of getting poisoned by one of the little Venonats. Now finally, after a few attempts, I get a lucky run I needed, where I would have to put all of the Venonat to sleep and take them out before they could poison me. Venomoth was last to win to poison me first, but this was a bad mistake as Buterfree put it to sleep and then went whamming with side beams before the poison could do some damage. And then the poisonous moth went down, winning us another gym badge. Next is Sabrina, and I'm just gonna give you the run of the problems with this fight, alright? So since we're doing this run with a psychic type that only learns other psychic attacking moves, it's kinda easy to hate it when you're faced with other psychic types. And I say this because of the fact that we do barely any damage to our Pokemon. Like even after putting them to sleep so we don't take damage, the process for doing damage and making a Pokemon faint is painfully slow. Like when I tell you that I had to restart once because I legit ran out of PP points for both my attacking moves. Now aside from the damage problem, I also ran into another problem, accuracy drop. So when I went into this fight with Sabrina, my Buterfree was slightly slower than the rest of her Pokemon, which means I have to attack second, which is a problem because Abra uses Flash a lot, which lowers my accuracy. And just like what we've seen in the past run, getting your accuracy dropped even by one stage will have you missing at almost everything. So not only does it take 20,000 hits to take a Pokemon out, but I'm also missing at everything, which increases the time it takes to defeat a Pokemon, as well as taking in more PP points that I do not have. So now after getting my ass handed to me enough times by Kadabra, I decided it's time to grind a little, so hopefully my speed would increase enough to the point that I better outspeed and attack first, hence not having my accuracy drop by Abra. Now I came back at level 53, and I'm now able to outspeed the Abra and the Kadabra and even do a little bit more damage. Now Abra was easy to deal with now, but the real problem lied with Kadabra, still because a lot of the time Sleep Powder would miss, causing me to take damage or the Kadabra to heal. Now even when I was lucky enough to get past Kadabra, I would be in the yellow, and Alakazam not only outspeeds me, but it also heals itself so much. And see now the outspeeding thing comes into play here because since it can outspeed me, it's also able to heal before I'm able to put it back to sleep. And if Sleep Powder misses, which it does a lot, then it can heal all the way back up with Recover. But finally, after attempt, I finally got around where I was super lucky. Like God see my struggles and came to my rescue and blessed this play. Because I literally hit everything without missing, even with the Kadabra. Once I got to Alakazam, I just did the same thing and I put it to sleep and then spammed attacks while trying not to get taken out by one of its attacks. And finally, I got to the point where we were both super low. After taking a hard-hitting Psychic in the red, we put it back to sleep and finished it off with 2 more hits of Confusion, finally winning us the fight against Sabrina, with just 20 HP points remaining. I won't tell you how happy I was to win this. Like I generally thought I was gonna have to go on some insane grinding streak to even win this. But luckily I won, and that's all that matters. Now the next main battle was against Blaine, and to be honest I wasn't so hopeful because I know this team could easily obliterate me with fire type moves. But surprisingly this fight wasn't actually that hard. Now of course there still were some losses and some issues, okay, but the Ninetales was actually pretty easy to bring down. I would just have to put it to sleep and then attack it a few times with Confusion before it went down. Rapidash was a bit of a problem though because of the fact that it had Fire Spin, which basically stops us from moving and we take damage from it. And this wasn't really avoidable because the Rapidash was faster than us, so I would just have to hope that it uses Stomp first so I can put it to sleep and then attack it a few times until it went down. Now lastly is Arcanine, which wasn't too bad either. To be honest, I'm pretty sure we were on the speed tie with this thing because with one attempt it outsped us and took us out with a Fire Blast before we could put it to sleep. And then another attempt I was able to put it to sleep first and then attack it a good amount of times over and over again until it went down. So yeah, I don't know, but I'm just happy that the gym fight didn't take as long as the last one because from the time of the start of the gym fight to the end of it was 40 minutes of real time. So, that did not help when it came to cutting down my time for the challenge. But now we finally made it to the final gym fight of the game against Giovanni. Now this fight wasn't actually that bad, it was pretty easy. I started by sucking the Dig Trio off a few times until I took it out. Then I just went on attacking the rest of his team with Psybeam, hoping for the best, and it was actually working. But the problem was that since I wasn't putting Pokemon to sleep, I was taking heavy damage in the process, and once I got the Rhydon, I got annihilated by Rock Slide. So I tried this again, and except I start putting the Pokemon to sleep and then attacking so that, I won't take damage. And then I got all the way back to Rhydon, where I used 1 Mega Drain, which is all it took to suck this huge rock dinosaur off and win us our final gym badge of the run. Before heading to the Elite Four, we were stopped by one more battle against our rival. His Sand Slash wasn't much of a problem as I landed a lucky critical hit while sucking it off. Next is Execute, who didn't do all that much damage to us, but it did poison us, so now we're taking passive damage over time. Next is Cloyster, who did major damage to us with a critical hit Aurora Beam, but we were able to steal some health back with Mega Drain. Next was Magneton, who only did a little bit of damage to us, however we finally succumbed to our poison. Now I tried again spamming Mega Drain back and forth against Magneton trying to stay alive, but then I realized that this poison is going to be a major issue. But finally, I got the run I needed, where I was able to start putting our rival's Pokemon to sleep, and then just start attacking back and forth with Confusion and Psybeam without getting poisoned. This worked really well until I got the Flareon, which kept waking up every 2 seconds. Like, this thing was such a pain, and I almost fainted due to Flamethrower. But luckily, our little Butterfly hanged in there and took it down, winning us the final battle against our rival. Alright, so now we made it to the Elite Four, and the first member is Lorelei. Surprisingly, she wasn't that hard to beat. I just followed the same normal strategy of putting her Pokemon to sleep and then attacking. Swift was actually pretty helpful because it was allowing me to have more PP for attacking moves, and the only hard one was probably Lapras, just because Lorelei used both of her Super Potions on it when I got it low, but still I was able to whittle its health down little by little until eventually it went down. The next Elite Four member was Bruno, and let me tell you, I absolutely dog-walked his entire team. Like, they all went down to a one-shot from Psychic, and the only one who managed to survive a hit was Machamp, but he went down easily too. Next is Agatha, and once again she was super easy too. Now the first Gengar had Substitute, so it did take a little longer to take it out, but once I destroyed its Substitute, I was able to easily take it out pretty easily. From there I began to take out the rest of her team pretty easily since Butterfree's Psychic types moves are super effective against her. It was also helpful that I was able to confuse some of her Pokemon like the Hunter and Final Gengar, which allowed me to take them out without ever being hit. But with 3 of the Elite Four members down, there's only one that remains, Lance. I started by putting Lance's Gyarados to sleep, and then I started attacking it multiple times until it went down. The 2 Dragonairs weren't actually hard to bring down, I just had to make sure that I put them to sleep first so they can't paralyze us, or that's basically a loss. Luckily they were only 3 hits each to go down. Aerodactyl was still able to outspeed me, but with my health being up, we were able to take a wing attack and put it to sleep, and we even managed to land a lucky critical hit for major damage, which allowed me to only have to use one final Confusion to take it out. Lastly is Dragonite, and I missed with Sleep Powder and then went for Thunder, but luckily that missed too, and on the second round, I managed to put it to sleep and then hammer away at its health along with putting it back to sleep once more, until eventually the Thunder Dragon went down, which finally wins me the final fight against Lance, and leaves only one that remains, the champion. Now before I get to the champion, I just want to say that I lost many times to the Elite Four, and what you're seeing now is just the winning results, and I just realized that I never added it in the field attempts, but due to time's sake I'm going to leave those field attempts out because this video was supposed to be done 2 days ago, but I was just a little lazy. But yeah, I need to start the next challenge now after this whole thing is edited, so I can't waste any more time. But as for the level gap, after losing so many times, I went ahead and got all the remaining rare candies in the game, and then used them to boost my level a little bit. But now that that's just clarified, let's move on to the champion. Now like I said, I would be removing the field attempts, but as for the winning run, Sandslash was pretty easy to take out with just 2 confusions after I managed to confuse it. Next is Alakazam, who was such a pain because it took so many hits to take it out. On the previous attempt, this sucked more because our rival would heal and I would have to get it all low over again. But luckily this time he never healed and I was able to take it out. Executor was the same as Alakazam, except it took a few more hits to take it out. The worst thing about this is when you fight the champion, battle animations stay on, so I had to take even longer just going back and forth spamming the same low damaging move. But luckily when it went down, the Magneton wasn't as bad and it only took a few hits to go down with the help of a lucky critical hit. Cloyster wasn't too bad either, and was an easy 4 hits once I put it to sleep. Lastly was Flareon, who was scary, but once I put it to sleep, it was Raps, and just like his other Pokemon, it went down in just a few hits, and with it defeated, we have now finally beat Pokemon Yellow with only Buterfree. Not gonna lie, this challenge was very tedious to do to the fact that when facing some Pokemon, it did such low damage to them, so the fight took even longer. But the final time for this run was actually just about 4 hours with an in-game time of 14 hours. And for some reason, if I did turn my computer off and then go back on it, the timer resets. So I took the ending time of the timer, which was 3 hours, and then added it onto the new timer, which was 1 hour, bringing the challenge time to 4 hours. Now, this time disappointed me because I've seen other YouTubers beat the game with Buterfree in just around an hour, so beating it in 4 times longer is just depressing. I think to counter this, I might start doing an unrecorded attempt just to get an idea of what to do and develop strategies so I can beat the challenge faster. But the next video will most likely be trying to beat Pokemon Yellow, which is Beedrill, so be sure to stick around for that. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.